Dillian the Body Snatcher White here. It's a champ. Big up to Sporting Icon. Subscribe. Otherwise, I might pay you guys a visit.
Now, I noticed yesterday that there were numerous headlines about Dillian Whyte bringing in Dave Coldwell for fight night against Alexander Povetkin this weekend. Now, I did notice about a day or so ago that Dave Coldwell, he was on Twitter and he was retweeting a lot of the things to do with this particular fight night, as in Fight Camp 4, not just Dillian Whyte, Povetkin, but Katie Taylor-Pursoon, Clay, Congo, etc., etc. And I'm like, but you don't have a fight on this card. So it did seem a little odd that he was doing it. But there again, you know, he's well in with Sky and Matchroom, so maybe that's why he was doing it. So I didn't pay it too much attention. But now it does make sense with Dave Coldwell now being in the corner with Dillian Whyte. Now, a few points on this one. First of all, Dave Coldwell. We all know who Dave Coldwell is. We know who it is that he's been training with before. We know his background. He's a fantastic trainer for sure. And he will know Dillian Whyte very, very well. I'm not saying on a personal level, but he will know what Dillian Whyte does well and bits but where that maybe he needs improvement on. Things like that. Because when Dillian Whyte took on Derek Chisora in the second fight, Dave Coldwell was in the corner of Derek Chisora. So he would have been studying Dillian Whyte throughout that entire camp. Okay, so he will know the pros and the cons with Dillian Whyte. Now, one of the things that I have a little bit of concern about is the fact that he was brought in so late in the game, so close to fight night. So these guys, they haven't had the time, they haven't been in camp together to work on different things. Right, this is what Povetkin does well. This is what he doesn't do so well. This is what Povetkin does consistently every single fight, these certain moves. These are the things that you need to work on, blah, 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 and drill it in training camp. Work on it. And that's something that hasn't been happening. So just bringing in Dave Coldwell late, not just Dave Coldwell, but anybody late into the game is, of course, concerning because you haven't had the chance to be practicing those things, because Dave Coldwell may want Dillian to do something that Dillian has not been working on in camp. So there's always going to be these kind of concerns, that's for sure. But Dave Coldwell, he's very, very good at breaking down fighters. He will have watched Povetkin fight numerous times. So he will know what Povetkin's good at, maybe what he's not so good at, all these kind of things. So it's not about Dave Coldwell, it's about a new trainer coming in. Because when I had Dillian on the channel a couple of weeks ago, I said, is Xavier Miller now officially your new trainer? And he said, yes. And Dillian was saying, although people may not have heard of Xavier Miller and this, that, and the other, well, you'll see what it is that we've been working on fight night. Now Dave Coldwell's coming in. I'm like, oh, okay. Maybe Miller is maybe a little gun shy on fight night. We don't know. We really don't know. But it could just be a case of that Dave Coldwell is just going to be there as a guidance for Xavier Miller. Much like Ricky Hatton was with Ben Davison when Tyson Fury took on Deontay Wilder. Not just the Deontay Wilder fight, of course, that team was together for a couple of fights for Tyson Fury. But with like Andy Lee, for example, he was working with Sugar Hill for the Wilder second fight. Things like that. So it could just be a case of they're going to bounce off each other. Maybe that Dave Coldwell is there as a support for Miller. So Miller will actually be the one in the corner. We don't know. But Dave Coldwell, he's very, very good at breaking down fighters. So he will be the tactician for this fight. Miller, the trainer. Okay. Now I know people will say, well, maybe he should have brought in Mark Tibbs and whatever else. And yeah, sure, maybe. Why not? Because he would have been studying Povetkin. He knows Dillian Whyte like the back of his hand, things like that. So maybe. But the most concerning thing for me is this should have been done a long time ago. Now don't get me wrong, this isn't just something that's just happened right now. Dave Coldwell and Dillian Whyte would have known that these guys would have been working together for quite a bit of time before it was officially announced. And Dave Coldwell would have been studying Povetkin rigorously. Okay, so there is a bit of confidence in the fact that Dave Coldwell, a very experienced trainer, a very good trainer, will be in the corner of Dillian Whyte. But again, how are these guys going to get on fight night? Is the chemistry going to be there? Is Dillian going to listen to Coldwell? That's the thing, isn't it? Now, I'm sure Dillian will. He's a professional. Dave Coldwell is a professional. They've both got a job to do, and that's exactly what it is that they'll do. But it's the whole Why now? Why not 2 weeks ago? Why not a month ago? Now, of course, Dave, he does train the likes of Jordan Gill, for example, in his gym. Is it in Sheffield, I believe it is. And Dillian, he's going to be now based in Portugal going forward. That's what Dillian said to me, that he's now actually going to move to Portugal. But so does that mean that Dave is just in the corner for this particular fight night, but won't be training Dillian Whyte going forward? Maybe it's just helping out Xavier Miller. So going forward, Miller becomes used to the big fight nights, because every time Dillian Whyte fights, it's a big fight night. And regardless of how this weekend's result is going to go, which I do believe that Dillian is of course going to win, but regardless of how that fight night's going to go, the next fight is going to be a big fight. The fight after that is still going to be a big fight. Okay, so Miller, he just needs to be brought into it gradually. And I think maybe that Dillian has recognised that, which is why Dave Coldwell is going to be in the corner as emotional support. But this is nothing unusual. This happens quite a lot. My good friend, Mark Clazel, he was called up to work the corner for Simon Vallily only 2 days before fight night against Fabio Wardley. So these kind of things do happen a lot. But I'm sure Dillian and Dave Coldwell, these guys would have had numerous conversations and maybe some live chats. So Dave Coldwell has been sat at home watching Dillian in the gym via the computer and speaking to each other via that kind of way. So you don't always have to be there in person, but of course it is better to be there in person. But either way, that is the news, that Dave Coldwell has been added to the corner team of Dillian Whyte. In what capacity? I can only presume from a tactical perspective. That's the only thing I can possibly think of, because again, with Xavier Miller, when he done an interview about 3-4 weeks ago, he said that as of right now, I haven't got a game plan for Povetkin, but come fight night, we'll have a game plan. And my immediate thought was, you should already have a game plan. You should have already been watching Povetkin and working on these things in the gym. So maybe that's why Dave Coldwell has come in there as a bit of emotional support, a bit more of a rock in the corner. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe, catch you all in the next video.